A message from McAfee.
I'd say howdy, but I'm not a real cowboy.
And I'm not a real alien.
We're deep fakes, and because of fakes like us,
It's hard to tell what's real.
Unless you have McAfee. McAfee's scam detector automatically identifies text and email scams.
And even deep fakes.
And it works everywhere, even out on the range.
Yeehaw!
But you're not even a real cowboy.
If they're faking it, they're not making it past us. Get award-winning scam detection today. McAfee.com/keepitreal.
You know, the beauty's in the connection. And so, and we all have stories. And I can tell you, you mentioned, we are thriving and living in a multi-generational workforce right now. A lot of us have either seen or experienced some sort of trauma in our lives.
50% of the time, are you just going to let crazy people talk to each other? What if they convince each other to kill each other or shoot up a school or a store? You are part of the problem. If you think that people who suffer from mental illness are vulnerable and dangerous, you are the stigma. Now, you know who is dangerous? Psychopaths and sociopaths. Let's move those people out of mental health issues and mental illness. And what do you got left? You got me. You got doctors and lawyers and, farmers and people who've been traumatized and sexually assaulted and all that other stuff. And guess what? We carry around a bag of empathy, and empathy, which might be cool to put on your Facebook profile, cannot be learned. It can only be acquired. And the way to acquire empathy is to go through it. And when you need somebody who has a deep understanding of pain, the only way is for that person to have gone through a horrific amount of pain. And I'll say this.
Hi, I'm Christy. I'm your host for Inside the C-Suite, where execs get real about leadership, impact, and what it truly takes to make high-stake decisions. I'm super excited to have on the show today Jonny McCoy. He's the founder and CEO of White Flag. He is a civil rights attorney, and he's a mental health advocate. I saw Jonny on the news where was it at? ABC News Live. As soon as I saw this gentleman, I knew he needed to be on this show. Jonny, welcome to the show.
Very cool. Thank you so much for having me. I'm glad that you tuned into that. It was quite the experience.
I could not grab my phone fast enough. I was like, what was his name? What was his name? And I looked you up on LinkedIn and I messaged you and you said, yeah, let's do it.
Of course,
so
absolutely.
Here we are.
Yeah. It's been fun. Yeah. So we recorded Good Morning America and ABC News Live because they're all in the same umbrella. And so we aired Good Morning America on Wednesday morning, and then the ABC News Live was on Friday. So I was for a week straight, I was, saying yes to everything that I possibly could, because it's an honor. You know what I mean? It's not anything that you need to be boastful about. It's an absolute honor to be lucky enough to, get in front of an audience where people like you can see it. So thanks for reaching out.
No, I love your mission. So I'm very passionate about mental health. You obviously are as well. And, I know we're in June. I'm not really sure when this will air, but for me, mental health is so much more than just May.
Right.
But I'd love to understand how an attorney gets into mental health. Can you tell us a little bit about your journey into that? And tell us a little bit about White Flag.
Yeah, sure. Absolutely. So it ties in well. I was born into a typical generational traumatized family. My father found my great grandfather in the bed with a gun in his hand. He had taken his life. My dad was 12. And the worst part about it is my great grandfather called my father over there, not on a telephone. This was in the 50s, but he had asked him to come over on this specific day at this specific time. And my dad ended up staying in the room with him all night with the dead body alone in this, what can be only described as like a rural type farmhouse. And then he walked to the school the next day, 3 miles. And when he got home from school, he told my grandmother, his mom, and she said, whatever you do, don't tell anybody that ever again. And they closed the casket and said it was a heart attack. And my father ends up meeting my mom at Disney. My dad was a Jungle Cruise guide, and my mom was a Disney princess, and in the 80s. And how the story goes, great romance until reality hit. You can't overcome something like my father experienced without intense healing, and he didn't heal. And so he immediately began beating her. I was born with with several psychological disorders because I was traumatized in utero. And so I was born with anxiety. My first panic attack I was 4 years old. We didn't call it a panic attack then. Everybody just said I was nervous.
Right.
Yeah. And so when I was 10, my mom let me miss baseball practice. And as I was walking home late from the store, which I went to with my buddy who was moving town, I saw my father getting placed in the back of a police car. And the only thing that he said to me was, I was 10, was make sure your mom calls my attorney. And I had no idea like what an attorney was and what was happening. So I end up walking, into the house and I see my mom, like half of her face is just mangled. He had hit her in the face with a bottle for letting me miss practice. And, I look back on that day and of course, like I was, that was where I guess you would say my PTSD moment was, if this was like a book and you wanted to circle it. But I mean, complex PTSD happens to children that are living in an unsafe environment. So I had been dealing with complex PTSD since I was a baby. And dad went to jail, and when he was in jail, he had a bad experience. And when he got home from jail, he told me about it. And I was again 10. And so all of my anxiety kind of focused directly on the law in jail. If this guy who's like this nightmare, violent guy who's not afraid of anything is afraid of this place, then that's the scariest place on earth. And so he actually stopped the physical abuse, the mental, I mean, the vocal stuff and the verbal abuse continued on, of course, but I was happy that stuff wasn't breaking anymore, but my damage had been done and my mom was a full-blown alcoholic by this time. And so when I was in high school, I mean, I used to clean my mom up and I'd come home and she would be covered in vomit and diarrhea. And I mean, it was a horrible experience. When I was 16, I performed an intervention. This is before it was actually a show. And I basically made my father send her to rehab. And so mom was gone for a good portion of, the later years of my high school. And I kind of took care of my little brother during that time because my dad was just checked out. And then I fled to college and I was all excited. I'm like away from these people and like gonna go find a new family, new friends, all that good stuff. Joined a fraternity, didn't know any better. And decided at some point that I was going to go to law school. My father, my mom didn't go to college. Like nobody in her family, really went to school. My dad is from a small town where they're all school teachers. My grandfather was a mail carrier. And so, going to law school is a big deal. I got in by like basically tricking the dean to let me into school. And I graduated, top half of the class and had a good job getting out. And then, I was pretty excited to be an attorney and being the only person in my family to make six figures. And one night, I was practicing insurance defense law at the time. And one night, there was a wedding in town, and all these attorneys had come into town. And so I let a couple of these guys stay at my house for this wedding. And I have Crohn's disease, which wasn't diagnosed at the time, but at that time I was still experiencing stomach problems, and so I didn't really go out at that time as much as I did, and after what I'm about to tell you.
Mm.
And I went to pick up my buddy from the bar, and this was a guy who was a prosecutor at the time. And as I kind of see him and I'm interacting with him, I see these three police officers take him down to the ground and trip him, and like he goes straight down on his face. And this was the nicest guy ever. First of all, he was a prosecutor, and so I approached the police during this arrest. I had my hands up the whole time, and I was like, "Listen, just release him to my custody. I'm sure this is some kind of trespassing BS or some garbage that you see all the time." I didn't do criminal law at the time. Well, they didn't like that very much. And when they pushed me and started pulling out their stuff to attack me with it, I was like, "Listen, I'm an attorney. I'm telling you, just release him to my custody. I'll take him home. It'll be fine. He's a lawyer. He's a prosecutor." And I guess they didn't believe us. I mean, I know they didn't believe us. And so they arrested me too. And they take us to jail. And in South Carolina, they can hold you up for up to 72 hours without a bond hearing if the officers don't turn your paperwork in on time. So we missed all these bond hearings and we were shifted to general population. I mean, we had to put the suit on and everything, and this guy killed himself in front of me. So so I experienced real trauma at that point. Like I was locked in a jail cell. When you're a kid, and your dad's like beating your mom and screaming, you can like go to your room and go outside. It's called self-soothing. And that was
Right.
something I was a master of. But when somebody kills themselves in a jail and they cut the guy down and they lay the body in front of your jail cell door and you're stuck in this concrete room for hours and the body's just right there, like there's no escape. And so you were just, it's almost as if somebody's just holding on to a stun gun and just like shocking you for hours and hours and hours. And so um, I went into shock. A judge came and got us out late at night, and the damage had been done. I went to the hospital. I got my diagnosis with PTSD, and that's where they put me on benzodiazepines for the first time I had been placed on medication in my life. And I don't have any family support or anything, so I didn't know any better. So I'm just taking these pills, and I go to my law firm and I'm like, listen, I got to get the hell out of this town. I'm not staying here. Like, I can't deal with it. I'm seeing these officers, their cars and stuff. And so this was only a week into it. And so I quit my job and I was moving home to be with my alcoholic mom. And when I go to court before I leave town, my attorney walks over and talks to the cops. And they're like, and I'm like, just go. I'm charged with interfering with an arrest. My friend was charged with trespassing and he was on a public sidewalk texting. And so my attorney walks up to him and he's like, listen, just dismiss this. The guy's been through enough. And I'll never forget, was looking across the courtroom and I see one of the officers go like this, like smirk, and then he goes. And I was like, oh shit, here we go. He walks back over, my attorney walks back over to me and goes, they say that you assaulted the cop and there's no dash cam and there's no body cam.
Oh, wow.
And,
Yeah, it was before
and
that.
yeah, no, they deleted them. They
Oh,
deleted them.
wow.
Yeah,
Really?
yeah.
Okay.
This was October of 2009, and so they basically said prove it. And so I didn't know what to do. I went to get a haircut. I don't think my attorney really believed me at the time that I didn't do nothing. I went to get a haircut at the same place where I always got my haircut, and it was right next to where I got arrested. And the girl cutting my hair starts tearing up, and she goes, "I'm not supposed to tell you this, but there's a surveillance video of your arrest." And the bar owner doesn't want to give it to you because in his words, he works with these cops every night. So I went to my office, I typed up a spoliation of evidence letter, and I got a thumb drive, and I went and took it to this bar, and the guy was leaving, and he looks at me, and I'll never forget, he was like, man, I can't believe you're here. He's like, this is day 6, day 7, the video automatically erases to make room. And so I was like, show it to me. And I had my hands up the whole time. My friend was just texting on the side of the road. They assaulted me. And by this time, they had already doctored the incident report to say that I grabbed the officer. So it was in sworn documents that it was obvious now that they had lied. And I thought, once the video got released, which we did release it with the lawsuit, that they would dismiss the charges. And I was really wrong. After the video went viral, it was like story of the year for the NBC station that broke it. They came after me hardcore. I was followed. There was about 100 or something hours of video of me just like trying to live my life back in Myrtle Beach. They came after my mom and dad. And when I say come after, they put you in a deposition and they smoke you. I mean, they were like, they went after my dad about being a wife beater and my mom about being an alcoholic. And they were like, this is why your son's a screw up because you guys did all this stuff. I mean, it was a rough experience. And
Yeah.
4 years later, I held it all the way through. We picked a jury and everything. They finally, they wrote a $300,000 check, slid it across the table and said, we will bring back up charges if we get any more information. So they didn't even give me the peace of mind to like dismiss my charges. They just gave me a check for 300 grand. Well, a judge threw out the law that I was arrested for. So now like the law is taught in law schools all over the country that you can ask questions to an officer. And I was sick. I was really sick. I took the money. I opened up my own criminal defense and civil rights law firm so that I could protect other people who, weren't as well spoken as me, didn't have, the wherewithal to be able to defend themselves. And I thought I was doing the right thing because I was winning. I was the only, in the South, nobody calls
Yeah.
out the cops, not
Yep.
in the courtroom, because I got to work with these guys. You only see your client once, your whole career. You see these cops literally every week, literally. And they're the reason that you get good plea deals. But I couldn't do it. I couldn't just ignore little lies, big lies. And so I was winning, but I was triggering myself over and over and over again. And in
Yep.
2018, I swallowed a bottle of pills, and that'll forever be known as my suicide attempt. So I end up in a treatment facility for trauma in Ocala, Florida. And when it was $1,000 a day out of network. This was all the money I had left. You know, I was a typical PTSD dude. I spent all my money every night at the bar trying to go to sleep. By that point, I was on 6 milligrams of Xanax a day, and I was winning trials and winning big cases. And nobody knew. And when I got into treatment, I started coming off of Xanax, which was a horrible experience. But I also was really looking forward to the healing part. So they give you a therapist, and I'm like, great, I'm gonna talk to you every day, right? And she's like, nope, 1 hour once a week. And I'm like, well, I'm here for 30 days. Like, what? I'm only gonna talk to you for 4 hours the whole time. And then they're like, yep. And then here's your psychiatrist. You're gonna meet with him twice the whole 30 days you're here. So I'm like, what am I gonna do the rest of the time? They paired us in groups with other people who had been through the same thing as you, and it was a miracle. It saved my life. It was the first time I'd ever
Really?
met any. Oh yeah. First, well, think about it. Think about when you meet somebody like you did with me, when you were
Yeah.
like, my son had concussions, and I go, I have a concussion. How did that feel? Right? It was like you understood. It
Yeah.
was like at that moment you realized that I can validate you, number one, and number two,
Mhm.
that I can give you true empathy because I've experienced it. That's not something that you can get from your neighbor who goes, well, I'm really sorry that Jacob had a concussion. That must suck for you. No, no, I understand. You don't have to tell me that he can't, function
Yeah.
in society. I believe it. And validation is what you need when you're healing. And so my roommate was the only person to tell me what was going on with Xanax withdrawal. Did you know that you hallucinate and hear voices? I thought I had schizophrenia, and schizophrenia is the end of it. I was actively looking for things to cut myself with because I thought I was developing schizophrenia. And then
Yeah.
once you get schizophrenia, I mean, you're in deep trouble. And shout out to the folks with schizophrenia who are suffering from it. Love y'all to death, but it scared me. And he was the only one, not the therapist, not the internet. Nobody told me you're going to hallucinate, hear voices coming off of Xanax. So that saved my life. Then the rest of the folks in there were like, listen, it's going to be 4 months before you're going to be able to really eat, 6 months before you can talk, to strangers. And it's going to be 5 to 6 years before you start feeling totally yourself again, coming off of Xanax. And had that I not had those talks with the people around me, I would have given up a long time. I would have been like, I'm so broken, I'm not getting fixed, it's over. And so when I left treatment, I was on the road to healing. I we had to drive home, and we stopped the car probably every 30 minutes on an 8-hour drive because I was having to pull over and cry. I mean, I was in real bad shape. And when I got home, I found a therapist and a psychiatrist. But guess what else you need? A group of people around you who understand what you've been through. And so
Yes.
I looked. And where do you find them, Christy? 2021. Where do you find somebody? How do you find somebody, a mom whose son has a concussion? Where do you find somebody who had a concussion?
Facebook?
That's what we got. You can
I
order
mean, that's
right. You can order a sandwich from New York from your favorite deli, and it'll be here hot in the morning. But you, who's in tech, can't think off the top of your head, where do I find another mom going through postpartum depression other than Facebook, which is
Yeah.
not the place that you're supposed to look. So I created it, and it's called White Flag. It's a place where you can instantly and anonymously connect with somebody else who's going through the same or has been through the same mental health and life challenges as you. And the way I was able to create it, because it's expensive as hell and I didn't have any friends that were tech guys, was in 2020, 2 years after I got back from treatment, I settled the largest civil rights case, single plaintiff in the history of South Carolina. My client was shot at 29 times, hit 9 times, over $100 worth of marijuana, and he lived. And I mean, these guys, as the Fourth Circuit Court of Appeals said, they literally tried to kill this guy. I mean, they were trying to kill him over $100 worth of marijuana. And we settled for $11.25 million. Little, young, black, sweet Rastafarian guy who just recorded music in his house. And there was a surveillance video that showed the cops lied there too. It was a horrible, horrible case. It was the worst set of circumstances that you can imagine. These cops were literally laughing and high-fiving, and they were shooting straight down at this dude. And they lied and said he fired a gun. And because I'd been through it, I knew they were lying because it was marijuana. I knew this guy wasn't going to shoot anybody over weed. And so I took my attorney fee and I put everything into this company. And then I sold my law firm, I sold my house, I sold my car, I sold the boat, which was named falsely a cruise. And I put everything into White Flag. And so we launched it in late 2021. And today we have about 165,000 people on there. You know, we were on Good Morning America. We've, you know, got some great investors around us. And you know, we truly believe that it's a free app. You know, we truly believe that we could grow this thing to over 1 billion people in the next few years. And the reason why is, like I just told you, everybody understands. They may not understand, like right off the bat, like, well, what does that do for you when you connect with somebody else who's going through the same thing as you? But every
Mhm.
single day of your life, you deal with it. When you sit next to somebody on a bus and they're like, I'm from Arkansas, and you're like, I'm from Arkansas, you immediately lower down a barrier that you had up to all strangers.
Mhm.
And now you feel a little bit more comfortable to open up. Well, imagine if it's not, I'm from Arkansas. Imagine it's, I witnessed a suicide.
Yeah.
That wall comes way down. And the entire purpose around psychology and psychotherapy, the entire purpose is to get you comfortable enough to open up. That's it.
It's like
That's it.
horizontal. So I interviewed Garrett Mintz. He's the CEO of Ambition in Motion. We were talking about mentorship. So you make me think about what he said. He said something that really stuck with me is it's like a horizontal mentorship. So when you get two people in the same space, the same time, and kind of in the same journey in their life, they connect faster, they stick longer, and then the outcome's greater. And that
That's right.
sounds like what you've created, which is incredibly beautiful. Um, and unfortunately you have to go through so much pain to birth something so beautiful. So thank you for turning your pain into something good for the community, because when I saw you on the news, you know, my son's been through a lot, as we alluded to. My son had back-to-back concussions in high school. He's never
Mhm.
been the same since. He's incredibly intelligent and bright, but we've just struggled with a lot of things, and it has been hard to find a doctor that understands, let alone someone else. So I did go look at groups. I did get on
Yeah.
Facebook. There wasn't anything out
Nope.
there. I mean, we're part of a chronic fatigue group on Facebook, which I can tell you helped me this much. I
Yeah.
mean, I could relate to the moms that were feeling pain
That's
that they
right.
couldn't help their kids, but outside of that, it didn't really help me get him help.
That's right.
And
Yeah.
so this is huge. And so it is free, right? So
Yeah.
if tell us about
Yeah.
that.
Yeah. So what you need to understand is there are places where you can, you know, there's like peers.net, 988 crisis line, there's peer support specialists. But the problem that I saw with those groups and those people was that they train them. That was it. That was it for me. Once, and my roommate who did 5 tours, once you start training a veteran or just a person on how to talk to a veteran and say, you know, make sure they're out, you're asking about, are they breathing? Did they go on the beach? And you're like, don't cuss that. It takes away all of the authenticity. And real recognizes real truth, but pain recognizes pain. And if you cannot relate and be authentic about it, you lose 80% of the people out there. Now, there are plenty of people out there who just need to hear the butterflies and rainbows and just need somebody to sit there and nod. There are plenty of them. But where
Right.
I was, the position that I was in the dark place I was in, the only people who could actually throw a ladder down that could reach me in this hole were people who had climbed out themselves.
Yeah.
And so people say like, "Oh, you went through all that, so you're the reason that's the reason why you created it because you went through it," which is true. But I really created it because I'm an attorney and I understand liability. And most importantly, I understand that there is nothing wrong with, illegal, unethical, or immoral about letting two people talk openly about mental health. And the rest of the country, and I'm going to tell you this, I've been talking about this company for 4 years now. 50% of the time, oh, are you just going to let crazy people talk to each other? What if they convince each other to kill each other or shoot up a school or a store? It's nuts. And you know what? Most of those people have a wristband on that says "in the stigma" or a bumper sticker that says "in the stigma." You are part of the problem if you think that people who suffer from mental illness are vulnerable and dangerous. You are the stigma. That's you. You're the issue. Now, you know who is dangerous? Psychopaths and sociopaths. Let's move those people out of mental health issues and mental illness. And what do you got left? You got me. You got doctors and lawyers and, farmers and people who've been traumatized and sexually assaulted and all that other stuff. And guess what? We carry around a bag of empathy. And empathy, which might be cool to put on your Facebook profile, cannot be learned.
No, it cannot.
It can only be acquired. And the way to acquire empathy is to go through it. And when you need somebody who has a deep understanding of pain, the only way is for that person to have gone through a horrific amount of pain. And I'll say this. So as a civil rights lawyer, everybody knows that I'm very open and loving of everyone, all genders, all races, all sexual preferences. And here's why. When I had my first seizure in my facility and I could feel my teeth going through my tongue and into the other teeth, and it was just blood and pieces of my teeth rolling around in my mouth. And I was like, I'm gonna die. In this place, like this happens all the time. So it's not like somebody rushed in or whatever, When I opened my eyes, it was a young transgender male who was female with a shaved head and makeup on that had me cradled in his arms. And he was like, "You're going to be fine. It's going to pass." And then my jaw started unclenching. And the reality of the situation is you might think these people are different than you, especially where I'm from in the South. I mean, we're in this position right now where they're like, it's a full on war against people that are different than you. But when you are in pain, everything else, the identifying factors of other people falls to the wayside. You don't see color, you don't see shape, gender. The only thing that you recognize in another soul is that they've been through pain and understand you, and you reach for them like they are an absolute life raft. And I hope for the people who have hate in their heart and who still walk around with this idea that we're different, that you don't have to experience what I experienced and your son experienced before you understand how similar we really are. And with White Flag, that's what we show people left and right, is it's anonymous. So you have no clue who this person is. But I promise you, if you did and you could see them, your judgment about the differences that we have physically or even, morally or ethically, whatever it may be, sexually, would fall by the wayside. And my goal, when people always ask, like, what is your deal with White Flag? Like, how far are you going to take this thing? My hope is that one day a young attorney who witnesses suicide and deals with, benzo withdrawals from Myrtle Beach, South Carolina, will raise his White Flag. That's how you get people's attention. And a person from Czechoslovakia will answer it. And then the app will translate our communication, and you'll be able to realize just how similar we really are. Because that person is going through the exact same thing as you, and it doesn't matter. The app is going to take away all the differences in location and language and all that, and you are really going to see it's not just that we're not alone, we're the same. And when you break, you find that out. It's like breaking open, a toy, and you go and look in the inside of it, and they all have batteries and a computer board. It's like, I'm telling you, it's not just the blood and guts in there. It's your consciousness. It's so similar to the rest of the conscious beings on this planet. And for me, I had to develop a way that people could ask for help without feeling like a burden, because that's number one. Like, people post on Facebook like at desperate times, like, I need someone to talk to, and then half of the comments are, grow up, Sally, you got a job and a husband and a dog. So we had to come up with a mechanism where it would be cool-ish. And so you raise your White Flag if you want to talk to somebody, and you type in, you check on our pre-checked filters or pre-picked filters what you're dealing with. And so for me, it'd be like anxiety, benzo withdrawal, PTSD, depression, relationship, financial issues. I'm an attorney, all the other things. And you put that out to our community, and our algorithm matches you with other people whose profiles have those things in common. And when those people get on the app, their home screen is just filled with people who have raised their flag asking for somebody to message them. So when you're going to message somebody, this person wants to talk. They're not going to be like, whoa, I'm fine. Why are you reaching out to me? This is so weird.
Right.
And so it's this like safe place. It's the only thing I can say. It's very comfortable and safe to either ask
Mhm.
for support or give it. And the most important thing that you need to understand is the people who are giving support are getting the healing the same way as the people who are receiving support. They get to use their pain for purpose. You get to actually feel and see that all the stuff that you went through is vital to somebody else's is relief and healing. You watch it
Yeah.
take place. And so our users aren't, they get on there and raise their flag, sure, but they also get on there to support other people. And guess what? You can support somebody from your dark bedroom that you haven't left in 4 days, and you can have purpose from your bedroom right now. And we wanted to make sure it was free. It will always be free. And the problem with that I didn't realize was that I'm going to have to raise, tens of thousands of dollars a month just to kind of keep back the revenue play off of this thing while we build the community up, make sure that people understand that we're in this for the right reasons. And then eventually we'll figure out some revenue plays, for our users that they're comfortable with. Now, for me, I didn't know. It took me forever to find my facility in Florida. And so if it was me, I'd want to know what resources are out there if I was a user. And so maybe that'll be the route that we take, eventually. But for right now, it's completely free, and there's no revenue on there. And it's just you healing and healing other people.
The beauty's in the connection. And
Yeah,
so, and we all have stories. And I can tell you, you mentioned, we are thriving and living in a multi-generational workforce right now. A lot of us have either seen or experienced some sort of trauma in our lives. I actually had a generational trauma thing happen a couple of years ago that resulted in a very near and dear family member of mine taking someone to court, who this
mm,
individual went to prison for a couple of years. But through this interaction, we learned that not only had this happened to this beautiful individual in my family, it had happened to my mom and my stepmom and myself. And we all kept it in silence. And
mm,
no one talked about anyone else. And we just watched it swirl generationally through our family.
yep,
So I love what you're doing. I'm almost in tears about what you're doing, because when I saw you flash on my TV in my dark bedroom, I've needed to connect with you. And I've had goosebumps through this entire interview because it makes a difference. You are right. There is power in the connectivity. There's beauty in the connection. You can be purposeful, and you can find help, and you can find hope. And those are things that, for me, are core, right?
yeah,
Like, as a
right,
human, they're core. And just thank you, Jonny, for being transparent and vulnerable. And that is my number one quality in leaders, is vulnerability, because without it, I don't think we can actually move things. And
yeah,
we are living in such a really dark time, that I think people are just trying to figure out, which way to go. And so white
yeah.
flag, I think, is a beautiful, beautiful concept. And I personally support it. And I have some ideas for you. So we'll chat after this.
Great. Yeah, that'd be great.
But
I'm all ears.
yeah. So if there's people out there that, hopefully most people that are listening to this podcast are responsible for people and care about people. And I could see this being a beautiful thing. I actually spoke at Hacking HR's Mental Awareness in May. And it was interesting because you had so many leaders saying, I really want to do something for my people, but we don't have
Right.
budget. We don't have
Yeah,
budget. This is
yeah,
free, guys. This is free.
yeah,
So how could organizations maybe tap on you to say,
yeah.
Jonny, we
Look at
want to do
you.
this.
Look
Yeah,
at you.
let's
So
go.
one thing that we realized was that employers and organizations and universities and nonprofits, they desperately want to provide mental health benefits to their people. And one thing that everybody knows is that peer support works. Talking to co-employees, talking to other students about your problems that are particular to you works. But guess what? If a university makes an anonymous peer-to-peer platform, nobody's going to talk on it, because Sally doesn't want to talk to Jessica on a platform where she's going to say, I used my book money for cocaine again and I feel terrible. She's not going to say it. it's going to get back to the
Yeah.
school, or she's not going to say my ex-boyfriend assaulted me. She's going to be worried about people finding out.
Hmm.
And same thing with employers. They're going to talk about they're going to talk about their boss on the platform. And so one thing that we are rolling out this August is something called Platform as a Service, where a organization engages us. We create an entirely customized version of White Flag, branded. So it'll say Coastal Carolina University or Walmart across the top. It'll have ways for Walmart to send resources in the app to their folks, and they will be able to give their employees or students a code, and they'll put it in when they sign up. And if they toggle and say, I only want to talk to other students, or I only want to talk to other employees, the entire app will be shut down to just those folks. And so we are starting a beta program of that. We've already got 5 universities and 5 employers signed up, but we're going to expand it to 30 of
Nice.
each. And so, yeah, if there's an organization out there, we've got multiple employers, but we've also teamed up with some municipalities with first responders who don't want to talk to anybody but other first responders. We've got a nonprofit that focuses on veterans, and guess what? Veterans don't even. It's not they don't want to talk to civilians. They don't even want to talk to other vets that weren't in their,
Yeah.
whether it be Army or Navy or Green Beret or Special Forces. They want to talk to somebody who, understands everything about their journey, including, what unit they were in. And so, yeah,
Exactly.
thank you for bringing that up. That's something that we're going to be doing, soon. So if there are organizations out there, that's something that we can provide. And if you don't want to go the route of a customized version, we'll send somebody, from our team to go speak to your employees about how to use White Flag. We'll bring shirts and the importance of mental health care. We're doing it at orientations, for new employees, but also for new students as well. So
I am in love with your mission, and I am so grateful that you were on my TV screen. And
thank you so
hopefully,
much.
some people got, and I don't watch the news, I'm just going to tell them myself, but for some reason that night, there you were, and it just resonated.
I'm grateful.
Um, if there is someone out there that would like to connect with you, or someone that is curious, whether it be someone in HR, organization, or an individual, where can they go find the app? Where can they reach out to you?
So after Good Morning America, we cracked the top 50 social networks. So we're a social network. Can you believe that? Like,
Nice. Yes.
yeah, we're a social network. So we tapped the top 50 social networks in both the Apple App Store and on Google Play. So you can go download it for free right now. Leave us a review, and that will really help. And if you guys want to reach out to me, go to whiteflagapp.com. It's got our whole team on there with all our LinkedIn's and everything. I mean, we are very forward-facing company. You can go listen to our podcast, White Flag Warriors. The first 3 episodes is my whole story.
Mm.
We'll get into this next time, but I was in the Murdaugh murder. I represented, the Alex Murdaugh case that got viral. I was cousin Eddie's lawyer.
Are you
Um,
serious?
oh yeah, yeah. I was
Wow, you
actually
are
on the
sleeping on me.
I was on the Today Show for that, and I sold my firm a few weeks after I was on the Today Show. I mean, I'm in, and the reason I talk about that is like I'm in White Flag, and I do this not because I
Yeah.
want to get rich, because I could have just stayed there, written books, and
Mhm.
been on TV. Like I really believe in this, and when you've been as desperate as I have been for relief, like you just can't think of anything else. It's the reason why people go visit orphanages and they just can't do anything else except for go back and adopt. And that's me. Like I can't stop thinking about the people that are still in those dark places. I just can't. I can't think about anything else.
Johnny, you found your purpose, and that's a beautiful thing to find. And I am forever grateful for getting this time with you. This is just the beginning, my friend, because I have
I
some
hope
ideas.
so. I hope so.
But thank you from the bottom of my heart and from the bottom of our community's heart for doing what you're doing, for being vulnerable, stepping out, and creating a safe space for others to hopefully save their lives and help them receive healing. And so,
Yeah.
for that, my friend, thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for having me. And I just want to say one last thing. Our most used filter,
Oh,
meaning
yes.
this is what you select, is loneliness. So you don't have to be in crises. You don't have to be me seeing a suicide. Listen, if you just want to talk to somebody else, and not just like I mean, Robin Williams had, like I said on ABC, he had thousands of people around him. Anthony Bourdain, millions of people. The problem is if somebody's not willing to talk to you about what's really going on, you feel alone. And so come on, white flag. If you're just feeling lonely, raise your flag for loneliness, and you will have dozens of people reach out to you and be like, I'm in a room full of people all day, or I haven't talked to anybody in weeks. They're going through the same thing as you, and it doesn't always have to be a crisis. So I'll see you on there. I'm on there a lot. You can actually add me on there. My name's Real McCoy on there. I got to use that one because I was the first one to download the app, so I got to pick my pick of the usernames. But yeah, reach out to me, and I'll be happy to tell you more about my story. It's basically the only reason I'm still here.
Well, I have several people I'm going to be tapping on that I know would like to give back and be a voice that have navigated and are still navigating. It's never truly over. It's just something that you learn to live with. Well,
Right.
Thank you again for your time. And audience, please connect, like, and follow Inside the C-Suite. And please go download this app and tell all your friends about it.
Awesome.
Till next
Thank you,
time.
Christy, so much. All right.
Thank
See you later.